Imagine if Home Alone was reimagined to an R-rated film. That's exactly what Rambo Last Blood is. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to a brand new movie review. Today I'm going to be discussing the fifth and final conclusion to the Rambo franchise. Now, here's the thing about Rambo. I've grown up with Stallone. I love the guy. I literally, I love Rocky. I love Rambo. And it's crazy to me how many characters that this guy has become. And same with, you can say the same for Arnold, but really Stallone has really impacted many people. And he's changed a lot for the filmmaking space, especially during the 80s and the 90s when it came to a lot of his action films. Now, when it comes into Rambo himself, this is one of his most iconic roles. It's either that or Rocky. You're either, I love Rocky or I love Rambo, or maybe it's just a little bit of both. And for me, Rambo, I've had a huge kick the last couple of weeks, rewatching every single one of them, getting ready for Last Blood, because I've been so damn excited about this. Because when it comes to these 80s films that I know, and when the filmmakers know exactly what they're going for, that's when I can dive into these films in such an interesting way. And when it comes to Rambo Last Blood, I was definitely interested in this movie. And from the opening title, the second this film started, I went, this film knows exactly what it is. This is a straight 80s film. It feels like, the whole movie itself feels like it was ripped right out of the 80s and it had never let go. And that's one of the biggest pros for this movie. Now, the cinephile in me had some issues with certain parts in this movie. The Rambo fan of me, the fanatic who loves great action set pieces with brilliant blood and guts everywhere. I'm not going to say it's some of the best action I've seen all year, or in general in the last couple of years, but it's straight 80s action. You can feel the blood and guts all throughout the scenes, and I mean, this is one of the most brutal movies I've seen in quite a bit. Me and my friend kept looking at each other just going, oh! There's actually one moment where I had a really good audience for this one, where they are all freaking out and kind of just jumping up and down, and there's this one lady next to me who's freaking out. The second something happened, she goes, oh my god, it's finally time. And that can be one of the things. It's like an hour and 22-minute movie. It's a very short-paced movie, fast-paced in fact. One moment in here where it kind of just sits to stop and take a breather. It's just finally chugging along as the stories go, which can be a pro and a con, which I'll get to, but this lady next to me, as something finally goes, she's like, it's time. And really the whole audience started clapping. They were all into it. And there came one point in this where I'm like, this is straight up Home Alone as a rated R movie. And me and my friend both turned to each other and said the exact same thing. This is Home Alone. And we loved what they were doing with it. Then there came another moment where Rambo does something so crazy. And I yelled inside me, fatality. And literally some guy actually right after that said the same thing. And I'm like, yes, everyone kind of got the same space. This is literally Rambo at his finest. And in a sense, the thing I love most about this, and I think a lot of Rambo fans will really appreciate, is that this has the mix of First Blood, which is still arguably the best made Rambo film, and the feel of the last Rambo film, Rambo, all mixed together kind of uniquely for this 80s nostalgia kick. Well, what is Rambo Last Blood about? Well, Rambo must confront his past and unearth his ruthless combat skills to exact a revenge in a final mission for him, because almost after 4 decades after they drew First Blood, Sylvester Stallone is back as one of the greatest action heroes of all time. I don't want to get into spoilers per se, because I know there are people who are really excited about this movie, and I do have to say a couple things for this. One, I think if you're not a Rambo fan, or in general just a fan of 80s action films, I don't think this is going to be the film for you. If you go and see this movie, I think you're going to walk out being like, that was stupid. And looking at the Rotten Tomatoes score, at the last time I checked, it was 34%. Maybe it's gone up, maybe it's gone down. I kind of understand that, because the cinephile in me, the person who loves films, and it's crazy to me, I could just see Ad Astra just a couple days ago and absolutely flippin' love it, and then also walk out of Rambo Last Blood and also have such a flippin' great time with it, but also knowing I have issues with the movie. And that's what's great to me as just a fan of film, is that I can kind of jolt my mind into different ways when I'm going to see a movie. When it comes to Rambo Last Blood, again, I do have one specific issue with this movie, and it really comes down to the story. Now, Rambo, I'm never watching for the story. That's just the truth. None of these Rambo films I've ever watched for the story whatsoever, but when I'm watching these films in general, I need that story, at least a cohesive one in fact, that kind of pushed me through the story. And while the story for this is fine, it's pretty cohesive, it's same, but it's so fast, and there's no moment to breathe. Where every other Rambo film, I felt like there was a moment to breathe, whether it's The First Blood, or Part 2, or even 3 or 4. I always felt like there was some moments in there where there was a moment of levity. A moment where Rambo just takes time, and maybe even gets to know the characters around him. But when in this one, since I already know Rambo character, it's the other characters that are per se in here. Especially when it comes to Iveta Monreal's character, Gabriella, pretty much the daughter to Rambo in this film. And when it comes to Gabriella's character, I was expecting a little bit more from her, and I didn't think they had given the actress much to do. And in fact, that kind of goes to the whole actresses in general, and really all the actors in here besides Sylvester Stallone. They get a lot of surface level material, and again, I don't expect much from there, but the cinephile in me was sitting there going, and within the first 20 minutes, I'm like, this is very basic, and I get it, like some of this is very Rambo-esque, kind of going back to some of the other films, but some of this also is just kind of pushing me in the wrong way, where I know where this is exactly going. It's feeling very on the nose and predictable, which maybe is what they were going for. But when it came back to the other Rambo films, I never truly felt that way, and I felt like it actually took its time building to the mission and not kind of just rushing to get there. And I felt like there was maybe 20 to 30 minutes that was kind of missing from this movie. I think this movie could have easily added an extra 20 minutes. Even if it was more action, I think you could have subtly added a couple more story sequences in here to really get us going and understand these characters besides just behind the surface levels, and in general just because it's Sylvester Stallone as Rambo and how much we love him. Pushing that aside, as much as I had an issue with that in the beginning, as the film started chugging along, once the action kicks in, once Rambo is kicking ass, that is when this movie is firing on all cylinders. Every single moment he's kicking ass is every single moment I love about this movie. And while that's a lot of in the back half, especially the third act, like almost everything you see in that trailer on the farm takes place in the last 20 minutes. And I just have to be honest with that. Like, I didn't expect that, but it's there, and it's really the last 20 to 10 minutes, to be completely honest, but I'm still in for that. And it's definitely a fun time at the movies. Like, this is a straight throwback to the 80s movies, and I'm all for that. I love Sylvester Stallone in the role of Rambo. He's fantastic in this role, and it always comes back to the action and how brutal it can be. The last half of this really felt like an R-rated Home Alone. Before I give you guys my final thoughts on Rambo Last Blood, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button right down there, because later this weekend I will be going over and ranking all the Rambo films from worst to best. That's going to be definitely a hard ranking to actually do. Harder than a lot of the other rankings I've actually done lately. And of course, guys, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button down below if you guys are new here, because I do tons of early movie reviews in general as well. Make sure to go over to Sandwich on Films as well, how to see films early. And of course, thank you to all my Patreon supporters down below, because without them, I wouldn't be able to do this. The Last Blood is exactly what I think a lot of Rambo fans are going to be looking forward to. I definitely had a fun time with this movie. And while the cinephile in me kind of had issues and kind of were like, oh my god, I don't really like that. Oh my god, I don't really like that. And really, there's one thing in here as a Rambo fan I didn't personally like, and it was one story decision that, again, I can't really get into due to the fact that it's a big spoiler. I had one issue with the movie. It's just something to do with the story, not as a cinephile, but just in general as a person who loves Rambo. And I kind of wish they would have tinkered it a bit. I think you could have to still made it to the same ending as it was going into. But Rambo Last Blood is ferocious. It's brutal, it's bloody, and it's pretty much anything you would ever want from a Rambo movie. A lot of people are going to go into this. People who are fans of Rambos and 80s action films are going to have a blast with it. I really can't imagine a Rambo fan coming out if you're not entertained or having a lot of fun. Maybe it's your least favorite, maybe it's your favorite, but that's exactly what I want to hear about down below in the comments. I might have had some issues with the pacing of the story, but who cares? Sylvester Stallone is the man as Rambo, so with all that said, I'm going to give Rambo Last Blood a B. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are on this film. Make sure to comment down below. Please, guys, let me know what your favorite Rambo film is. Overall, my ranking that will be premiering in just a couple days, so make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Check out Sandwich on Films as well on how to see films early, and let me know what your guys' favorite. Who do you like more, Stallone as Stallone? Do you like him more as Rocky or Rambo? Let's discuss it. Thank you guys so much for watching this, and of course, until next time, stay classy.